The day of my husband's illegitimate son's full moon celebration was the day he asked for a divorce. I immediately gathered all the evidence, laid it out in front of him, and gave him 3 options. 1. Go to court. 2. I send you to prison. Or 3. You voluntarily transfer the stock and share property to me. I collected the evidence and, with my lawyer, sent them to prison, finally getting back what was mine. A man who's dirty can be thrown away, but not a single cent of my money will be lost, making me an abandoned wife with nothing impossible. When Robert proposed divorce, I wasn't surprised in the least. After all, his son had been safely born. Don't worry, he said, raising an eyebrow as if bestowing a favor. You've worked hard these past 3 years, even if you didn't contribute much. I'll give you an extra 100,000 as compensation. 100,000. How generous of him. His mistress's hospital bills cost more than that. I pulled a brand new divorce agreement from my bag and slapped it onto the table. I can sign today, provided it's according to the terms in this agreement. Robert's expression hardened. He asked, his tone unpleasant, "What do you mean?" What did I mean? Naturally, it meant all of it. I'm taking 70 of the total assets. The rest will be enough to support your new family of 3. I'm being very generous. He spent over half an hour flipping through the agreement. Robert's face grew darker and darker. You're really greedy, he finally said through gritted teeth. Oh, and cheating in marriage. So what? You're not the only man in the world who's cheated. I doubt the judge will award me nothing. Robert threw the entire agreement onto the floor. You're just a housewife. The company is out of the question. I turned and walked out, ignoring Robert's curses behind me. I slammed my foot on the accelerator, a smile spreading across my face. Looks like my act was pretty convincing. I didn't waste time on the roadie either. I casually called Robert's parents to share the good news about their grandson and urged them to come quickly to register his birth. Robert's parents cursed me out over the phone. They told me that if I could raise the child as my own, they might reluctantly tolerate me and prevent Robert from divorcing me. Robert's parents hung up. As soon as I arrived at the office, I got a call from Robert, furious, sounding like he wanted to eat me alive. Who told you to call my parents? Telling them only creates more trouble. Yes, Robert's parents had no sense of shame. Once they heard the news, they would definitely be overjoyed, eager to tell the whole world. After all, I hadn't had a child in 3 years of marriage, and his parents had already made a big fuss about it. I smiled happily. Now things were really getting interesting. Robert had been hiding his mistress, but now his parents were announcing her existence to the world. At the office, I also got busy, reorganizing the evidence of Robert's infidelity. What I'd shown him earlier was just a small portion. The really juicy stuff was yet to come. I packaged these dirty things into files and sent them to the private lawyer I'd hired specifically for this. I also checked the files my assistant had sent me. Malicious bidding, wage arrears, illegal operations. Each item was evidence I could use to take down Robert. I'd spent over half a year gathering photo evidence, documents, witnesses, and material evidence. I was ecstatic. I went downstairs to my car. It was such a beautiful day. I should really go for a brunch outing. But just my luck, as I arrived at the coffee shop I frequented, I saw Sarah. She was sitting at my usual table, looking smugly at me. I sized her up, a red spaghetti strap long dress, a flashy diamond necklace. I smiled. All of it bought with my money. Fancy meeting you here, Sarah, I said, lifting my chin in greeting. I chose a window seat, not bothering to interact with her, but she insisted on coming over, looking innocent and saying she wanted to buy me coffee. As soon as the coffee arrived, she coyly said, "Oh, I forgot, you can't drink coffee while pregnant." I didn't even want to lift my eyelids. Her words were truly nauseating. "You haven't seen my son yet, have you?" she asked, pulling out her phone. Without waiting for my permission, she shoved the horizontal screen in front of me. He looks just like me and Robert, so fair and soft, absolutely adorable. I frowned, glancing at the screen, and almost burst out laughing. He looked dark and blurry. His eyes weren't even open. Sarah wasn't embarrassed at all. She calmly took back her phone. "Emily," she said, "when I worked under you before, I always thought you were very strong. But now, being strong won't help you." She wiggled the ring on her ring finger. "If you can't hold on to your husband's heart, you have to accept your loss." I subtly lifted my right hand and rubbed my eyes, conveniently revealing the big diamond ring on my index finger. Sarah was indeed startled. My ring was the same brand as hers, but mine was twice the size of the one on her hand. "You did that on purpose?" Sarah's red lips were nearly chewed raw as she glared at me, visibly angry. I laughed. "Why would I do that on purpose? Showing off rings this style is very common. It's only awkward for the one with the smaller carrot weight. What are you so happy about? Sarah's expression shifted as if remembering something, and her gaze became more confident. Robert will divorce you soon. Then I'll be his wife. I just laughed. I nodded, gave a faint "oh," and then elegantly picked up my coffee and started sipping it. Not even 5 minutes later, Sarah couldn't sit still anymore. She bit her lip, staring at me. What exactly are you so happy about? Robert is going to divorce you. How can you be so calm? I lifted my eyelids and glanced at her. It was a silent challenge. Sarah, fail. ING to provoke me, grabbed her bag and left in a huff. Before she left, she didn't forget to boast about how much Robert spoiled her, buying her luxury goods constantly. She was young and uneducated, after all, and Robert bought all those things with joint marital property. I had the right to reclaim them since it wasn't done with my consent. Thinking about Sarah's taste, I couldn't help but sigh. When I got home that evening, Robert's mom called. Before I could say a word, she started yelling at me. I held the phone away, pretending to have no signal. Then the call was disconnected. I can take calls, but constant cursing isn't polite. Besides, the house they were living in was still mine. Without a word, I immediately called the security guard at the gated community and asked them to tell that family to vacate the house. Within 10 minutes, I got a call from Robert. He was fuming on the other end, demanding to know why I was treating his parents like that. He thought Robert's parents were old and shouldn't be provoked, and that I was being disrespectful. This absolutely made me laugh. The house was mine, whatever happened with it was up to me. Robert must have forgotten that the property registration had been transferred to me a year ago. The only reason his parents were still living there was because we were a family then. I wasn't anymore. Of course, I wasn't heartless. To ease the burden on Robert's parents, I even specially hired a moving company to help. Robert's parents had a lot of stuff, piles and piles of fine belongings. Watching the video the security guard sent me, I was stunned. After their house was cleared out, I thought of Sarah again. However, she was currently living in a house Robert had bought specifically for her. I couldn't move her out, but I could claim it back. A house bought with joint marital property was also partly mine. I called my lawyer, who immediately understood my intention. After a brief discussion, a few days later, Sarah appeared in court as the defendant. As soon as she saw me, her face flushed scarlet. She demanded to know why I was doing this to her, rambling on and on about how heartless I was and how I didn't care about Robert's reputation. I couldn't be bothered with her. I stood behind my lawyer, leisurely touching up my makeup, ensuring I looked my best. What surprised me was that Robert didn't show up, his mom did. As soon as she saw me, she started screaming like she was losing her mind, calling me shameless for suing her son. I remained calm, listening for a while. However, Robert's mom was so enraged by her own shouting that she looked like she was about to faint, her lips turning blue. "Oh dear, Mom," I exclaimed loudly. "You don't look well. Is your heart acting up?" The moment I finished speaking, she collapsed with a thud. I stepped back, afraid she'd fall on me. Well, wasn't this convenient? The lawsuit hadn't even properly started, and someone had already fainted. I was kind-hearted and considered terminating the lawsuit, but Sarah, even at that moment, didn't forget to cause trouble. She said I deliberately angered the old lady until she fainted. All right then, I thought. Let's continue. I called Robert's dad and informed the judge we wished to proceed with the lawsuit. The judge, of course, agreed Robert's mom's presence or absence had no bearing on the case. My lawyer presented the necessary evidence, showing the records of Robert's property purchases and proving that these were our joint marital property. Someone who didn't understand the law at all and had no legal basis was bound to lose. Right after the trial ended, I received a call from Robert. He was furious, complaining non-stop about how aggressive I was. I couldn't be bothered to listen and hung up on him. I was busy watching Sarah move out. I didn't have time to listen to his lecturing. As I opened my car door, Sarah rushed out. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes tear. "Why, Emily, you've gone too far. Robert will definitely divorce you," I frowned. The same old line, no originality at all. I slammed the car door shut. Through the window, I told her, "I hope so. After all, does a hypocrite like Robert really deserve you?" With that, I drove away, leaving Sarah behind, teary-eyed and coughing from the exhaust fumes. I hadn't signed the divorce agreement, and coupled with what happened in court that day, Sarah started getting scared. She began causing scenes. First, she'd call me daily, crying with her child, begging me to divorce him. Then, she'd shove the baby into Robert's mom's arms, who was still in the hospital room, and rush off to the company. I happened to be at the company discussing the divorce with Robert. Before I could react, Sarah burst in. Why are you here? Her eyes widened, and she demanded aggressively, what right do you have to be here? I blinked and pointed at Robert, indicating that he had asked me to come. Sarah looked at Robert. Robert irritably pinched the bridge of his nose. We're discussing the divorce. Sarah's voice trembled. Can't you discuss it outside? Why in the office haven't you let go of her at all? I was taken aback. Robert was also speechless, angered by her unreasonable behavior. Everyone in the office knew her. Why insist on coming to the office? Sarah seemed to be losing control. She threw herself into Robert's arms and started sobbing. I gave you a son, you can't abandon me. I immediately took 3 steps back and deliberately left the door ajar so people outside could see what was happening inside. Robert was still entangled with Sarah. Hearing the gradually approaching footsteps outside, I cleared my throat. Sarah, you're embracing him right in front of me. At least I'm still Robert's wife right now. You're just a mistress. Don't get too carried away. As soon as Sarah heard that, she turned around to look at me and then lunged forward to hit me. I dodged backward, and Sarah stumbled right into the arms of a stranger. Mr. David. What brings you here? David glanced at me indifferently and smiled. 2 years hadn't changed him. David was still as aloof. When Robert and I got married, he didn't even attend the wedding. Later, when he learned I'd transferred half my stock to Robert, he called and cursed me out directly. He called me brainless back then. But I loved Robert so much at the time that I didn't take his words to heart. Now, looking back, he seemed to have a point. Giving my money to a man was a joke. I looked at Robert. His face was ashen. David looked at me, his eyes holding unspeakable mockery. I am Robert, David said, raising an eyebrow and glancing at the spot where Sarah had bumped into him, looking disgusted. Smells like cheap perfume. Sarah's face instantly changed color. Been at the company for 2 years now. This was directed at Sarah, but David was looking at Robert. Then his gaze shifted back to me. Ms. Emily, do you have time for coffee? His gaze was intense, so hot I couldn't look him in the eye. I just softly hummed in agreement. The scene inside had already attracted the attention of the employees outside. A few bold new hires had already recorded a video. I walked over and politely asked one of them for a copy. I couldn't miss such a dramatic moment. What do you need it for? David asked me, his tone softer than before. Just for kicks. I shook my head. I'm not that idle. In the crucial moment of bidding between 2 companies, no one wanted internal problems, especially with stock fluctuations. Anyway, we're getting divorced. What happens to Robert doesn't concern me. David looked out the window. I lowered my head, unsure what to say for a moment. Emily, I heard him call my name. I looked up and saw David looking unusually serious. Stop being a doormat. Yes, stop being a doormat. It was because Robert had said Sarah was a good girl, someone from back home, and responsible and diligent at work, that I allowed her to transfer from the front desk to the sales department. I mentored her personally, teaching her everything I knew. Later, when Robert and I married, I even asked Robert to look after her. The result, 2 years flew by, and they ended up looking after each other, even having a child. On the way back, I sent the video to Michael, the head of the rival company. I gave him the material, the rest was up to him to use. An old fox in the business world like him would know better how to leverage public opinion. On the day the bidding began, I sat confidently in the room in a sharp suit. Sarah, arm in arm with Robert, deliberately came over to me. Why are you here? To see how loving Robert and I are, I scoffed, not wanting to engage with her at all. The bidding started quickly. I was confident of winning, but unexpectedly, the final result left me stunned. Robert won the project, and Michael, who was supposed to be my ally, was already discussing future cooperation with Robert during the meeting. I realized belatedly that Michael had probably already partnered with Robert. Michael came over, looking apologetic. This company is your husband's. His earnings are essentially your earnings. I laughed coldly, listening to Michael's weak post hoc explanation. I realized I had been too careless. Eastlake Industries and Robert's company were similar in strength, but such a large project couldn't be handled by either company alone. Robert secured the project and would then seek Eastlake Industries funding supply for mutual benefit. I admitted I had been too impatient. I turned to leave. Robert walked towards me, still arrogant. When are you free? Let's go get the divorce decree. He said it so casually, without a hint of guilt. My divorce agreement. Whenever you agree to it, I'm free. Robert frowned. Haven't you made enough of a scene, Emily? It's not 4 years ago anymore. You have no experience, no power. You should put your pride aside for now. He lifted his wrist and looked at his watch, indicating the time. I think a week from now. That's my only free time. If you feel wronged, I can transfer another property under my name to you. I grabbed the glass on the table and threw the water directly at him. Keep your measly money for later. I wiped my hands dry, ignoring Robert's enraged reaction. On the way back, I reflected. My biggest mistake was trusting Robert too much before. We were college sweethearts. I was with him when he started his company. Later, for his dreams and aspirations, when his company had funding issues, I contacted my old classmates to help maintain his revenue. Now, he had secretly transferred assets, putting everything under his parents' names. My precious 4 years of youth were wasted like this. It's why I was on the verge of collapse when I found out about his affair 6 months ago. A relationship from your 20s, after gaining fame and fortune, turned out to be so fragile. The part of the investigation I'd entrusted to my lawyer regarding Robert was almost complete. I had originally planned to sue him, but the timing wasn't right. It wasn't enough to completely crush someone. It had to be when he was at his most triumphant and successful. Michael invited me to dinner that evening, and I accepted. What I wanted was to ruin Robert's reputation and make his company collapse in this city. Michael and I reached an agreement to deal with Robert together. Mr. Michael came out of the hotel and ran into David. He was just finished with a work event, reeking of alcohol and looking exhausted. What are you trading with, Michael? I was startled, not expecting to see him here. David gave a faint, almost imperceptible laugh. Is it that new company you started? Is it worth such a high price? There was displeasure in his tone. You could have come to me. I would definitely help you with your matters, Mr. David. I cut him off coolly. Using my company to bring down Robert isn't a price, it's leverage. My tone was calm. When I got home, there was a commotion in the underground parking lot. I took one look and immediately got out of the car, shouting as I walked, "Security guard, Robert's parents are back again." As soon as his mom saw me, she rushed towards me forcefully, yelling curses in a shrill voice that nearly burst my eardrums. Divorce quickly. I lost patience and waved at the security guard. Quickly, get these two out of here. To my surprise, Robert's mom was clutching a divorce agreement in her hand and said she wouldn't leave unless I signed it. I immediately pulled out my phone and called the police. Sure enough, half a month later, Robert's company ran into trouble. First, there were internal issues with the construction site, and then a capital shortage, leaving them unable to repay even the bank loans. I casually called him. Getting a divorce. I was in high spirits. I'd planned to play ball with David, but then I ran into Sarah again. She looked a bit worn down, her eyes glaring at me. Why aren't you divorcing Robert yet? I pursed my lips. He hasn't signed the agreement. Sarah choked, angered by my words. All the joint marital property was earned through Robert's hard work. Why do you demand the majority of it? I looked at her coldly. Because I'm still his wife right now. My tone was light. And because if I don't divorce him, you can't become his wife. Sarah became hysterical, flailing her arms, and lunged at me again. I stepped back, grabbed her arm, and kicked her in the waist. Just because I've been a housewife all these years doesn't mean I'm useless. Yoga, fitness, taekwondo, I haven't missed a single one. I'm calling the police. You dare hit me? I let go of her arm and laughed again as she stumbled to the ground. I was just defending myself. Go ahead and call. The police might even blame you. David came up from the parking garage, looked calmly at the scene, and said, let's go. Don't let people like this ruin our mood. Sarah pointed at me angrily. Are you with David? Indeed, some hearts are dirty, they see dirt everywhere. When Robert's company was facing its most difficult time, I sued him. Marital infidelity, illegal transfer of joint marital property. I blocked all of Robert's calls and stayed in a hotel, not wanting to deal with him at all. On the day of the trial, Robert looked exhausted. My evidence was abundant, even perfect. Even the bank transfer records were investigated and were crystal clear for the court. As for the few properties he secretly bought for Sarah, there was no denying them. The court immediately ruled in my favor, supporting my lawsuit request. Robert was required to sign the divorce agreement within a specified period. I was overjoyed. Stepping out of the civil court, Robert suddenly spoke. Can't you be less ruthless? The company urgently needs funds. I really have no money. I adjusted my earring, my tone slightly dismissive. Then declare bankruptcy. I shrugged. Didn't the agreement still give you money enough to support a wife and child, right? How ridiculous at this point. He was still thinking of exploiting me outside the courthouse. David was waiting for me. He was holding a bouquet of white roses, waving at me from afar. Before I even reached the steps, I saw Sarah had also arrived. She was holding her 3-month-old son, looking happy. David saw me, with a dejected Robert trailing behind. He chuckled unexpectedly. Mr. Robert, so busy yet you came personally for the divorce. I couldn't help but laugh. Robert's face turned red with embarrassment. He said angrily, you and Emily were in cahoots all along, weren't you? Robert and Sarah were truly alike, even saying the same things. I took the bouquet. Let's go eat. David raised an eyebrow. As he turned, David looked at Robert and added, Robert's company is completely finished. On the day of the divorce, he even took a taxi to the courthouse. I arrived in a luxury car and deliberately made him wait for over an hour. Robert was furious. You chose today to get divorced, and you're the one who's late. I looked up at the time. Sorry, traffic. As we signed, Robert suddenly hesitated. I quickly signed my name and reminded him coldly, Mr. Robert, from now on, it's not us anymore. We have no connection whatsoever. Robert, with suppressed anger, asked, without me, will you really be happy? Without you, I will naturally be happy. I can do whatever I want. Why wouldn't I be happy after the divorce? I chose a good day and returned to the house with my luggage. Robert's parents came to my door, demanding I save Robert. When I was in a car accident, Robert only showed up the day after the incident, lingering by my bedside for less than half an hour before rushing off, claiming company business. I pushed away his mom's hand as she grabbed me, looking disgusted. You have heart problems. You should go home and rest more. I thought things would end there. I'd bought a plane ticket and was planning to go on vacation abroad. On the way to the airport, I unexpectedly received a stranger's text message. The photo was an intimate picture of me and Robert, but Robert's side had been cropped out, leaving only me. Other than Sarah, that idiot, I couldn't think of anyone else. I replied, do you think this can make me feel ashamed? I went to the police station and asked the police to investigate. Afterwards, I went to the mall to shop, but what shocked me was that people in the mall were looking at me strangely. A sales assistant I knew well pulled me aside and quietly explained why. Ms. Emily, that photo of yours has been posted online, and the heat is rising. I took out my phone. Sure enough, the comments below had already exceeded 10,000. Suddenly, I was the subject of public ridicule. My fingers trembled slightly as anger surged through me. The post had been made 2 hours ago. David had called me many times, but I hadn't answered. Later, he drove directly to my place and found me. Emily, don't be scared. This isn't your fault. As soon as I entered the door, David anxiously comforted me. Of course, it wasn't my fault. I hadn't done anything wrong. The police investigation went smoothly. Sarah was indeed the culprit. Ignoring Robert's pleas, I sued Sarah directly. The lawsuit for unauthorized dissemination and chat records showing extortion was successfully filed. On the day of the trial, Sarah was sentenced to 1 year in prison. He looked at me coldly, sneering. Emily, aren't you always so proud? Such an excellent person, yet your life will have a blemish after all. I raised an eyebrow, took off my sunglasses, and looked at Sarah. The real blemish is you and him. With a mother like you, that child is truly unlucky. The matter settled down. Before Robert's company was liquidated due to bankruptcy, his illegal activities were also discovered. Videos of him having an affair with an internal employee were leaked online and went viral. Robert became infamous, detested by everyone in the business world. David formally pursued me, but I rejected him. I wasn't ready to start a second relationship yet. Robert had hurt me too deeply. I needed a long time to recover. However, I didn't want to use David as a tool for healing. Perhaps this kind of pain just needed time to mend. For now, I just wanted to focus on building my career steadily. No one can control me, not even the closest partner. I took a wrong turn, but it doesn't matter. I'll turn back in time. We women must never rely on others. We must have the ability to be independent and the courage to start anew.